I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I've got the screwdriver rack hung up. I've got the nut driver rack hung up. I have the hex driver rack hung up. All those racks are taken care of. Plier rack I still got to do some work on. But right now I've got two things that have been sitting on the floor for a while and I want to get them up off the floor. When things sit on the concrete floor in the basement, they tend to get, if not dirty, rusty. There's always a little humidity comes up through the concrete, and I don't want to have my tools getting rusty. When I lived in Union City, there was a guy just down the road from me who sharpened saws. He had an arrangement with a local lumber yard. He had a rack there and a display. You could fill out a card, attach it to your saw, hang it on the rack. He would come in once a week or so, pick them up, sharpen them, and put them back on the rack. Just had to go back, pick it up, pay the guy at the counter, and your saw was all done. $7 to sharpen a saw, 20 bucks to buy a new one. Made sense to me. After I got them sharpened, I had more saw blades than what I had saws to put them on. So I made this rack. Pretty simple. Just a T-nut. It's a 1/4 inch brass bolt that goes through and it tightens up against the T-nut, holds the blades in place, keeps them all safe, protects the edges so that they don't get knocked onto the floor and damaged. At the time I had a lot of power saws. Had a radial arm saw with a 14-inch blade. Buying one of those was a lot more than 20 bucks. I also had a Craftsman 10-inch table saw, which I bought blades for, and they were expensive too. They were a lot more than 20 bucks. Then I had a circular saw. Circular saw I went through blades quite quickly because I was recycling wood. Hit a nail with it, just take them right out. Now, the carbide blades lasted a lot longer, but you'd still snap off the carbide. Once you lost 3 teeth on a carbide blade, it's pretty much toast. So this little rack made it so I could carry them back and forth to the guy to get sharpened. And they were safe when they arrived, they were safe when they came back, everything worked out well. This big abrasive disc is for my steel chop saw. I never got a cold saw. The abrasive wheels were big at the time when I wanted to get something that could cut steel. So rather than buying a cold saw, which actually is a better deal, I ended up with an abrasive wheel. Works quite well. You've seen me use it. Then of course there's the small saws. These circular saws go anywhere from 8.5 down to 7. I don't have an 8.5-inch saw anymore, but they're on the back of the rack and they did fit on a table saw, so I kept them. But having these sit on the floor, you can see they're getting awfully dusty. So I decided I wanted to put them up on a rack. So I'm going to put a peg over there in the corner so I can hang these two up. I'm still going to use the carriers because they're just nice to have, but I'm going to hang the carriers up on a peg. It is handy to have the drills out here where you can see them. Makes it so I use them more often. If they're off in a toolbox someplace and I have to dig them out, I'm much less likely to go get them. The old adage, out of sight, out of mind, really does hold true. Now if I go down at a slight angle, that'll keep the racks from sliding off the peg. The other thing that helps is being able to put them back easily when I'm done with them. Now this spoke pointer, I only use every once in a while, but it's very handy to have around because it does a nice job. And the screwdriver right there in front of me is handy. I have to adjust the depth of cut on the spoke pointer. And I suppose you could use this as a pencil sharpener, but it's not its best purpose. Just taking the edge off of a piece of dowel does exemplary. Puts a nice little chamfer around the outside of the peg. Works quite well. Now for a bit of glue. And I can hang my saws up. And I won't have to be sweeping around them anymore. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.